Are you sad because you're heavy, or are you heavy because you're sad? People look at it like it's cheating, like it's an easy way out. It doesn't make it easier. There's effort involved, there's side effects involved. People don't look at obesity or being big as a medical issue. They look at it like, hey, it's your fault.
It's an addiction. We are addicted to food. And you wouldn't tell someone who goes to AA that they shouldn't go to AA.
If you're the person who is sitting on the couch and all you're thinking about is a leftover pizza in the refrigerator, then you are my people. You know exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. So much of your comfort, everything that brings you joy is surrounded around food. And then all those things are taken from you. And it's like, how do you deal with that? Why do people quit? They quit because of that. Does having bariatric surgery or taking a GLP, does it solve that problem?
Once a binge eater, always a binge eater.
We are well experienced on what it takes to lose weight, but what we never seem to get is a conversation about what it feels like to be on that journey. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Man Big Problems podcast. I created this podcast to talk about the problems of being a big person. So I have a question for everybody out there. Have you ever been on a diet? Have you ever had a gym membership? Has anyone ever suggested to you that you should go on a diet or be on a gym membership? My whole focus has always been on being a big person. But the thing is, being a big person means that most of us have really been on a diet since we were about 12. So we are well experienced on what it takes to lose weight, what it takes to work out. But what we never seem to get is a conversation about what it feels like to be on that journey. So I thought that'd be a great topic for today. So we're going to talk about the struggles of being a big person and being on a weight loss journey and all the fears and anxieties that come along with it. So I brought along with me a special guest. Her name is Kelly. Say hello to the group, Kelly.
Hello.
So Kelly happens to be on her own weight loss journey. And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to talk about where you are when you start, where you are during, and some of the struggles. So by the end of this, we're going to have something that a lot of you've never had, which is an understanding of what it's like to go through the process. Because we've all been on diets, right? And we've all had people coach us in training. We've all had people coach us in calorie counting and when you're supposed to eat something, what you're supposed to eat. But how many of us have had somebody to talk to halfway through saying, look, I'm feeling a certain way.
Right.
Look, I'm struggling with this particular emotion. And we all seem to get to that. And then I'm going to have a little insight based on my full experience of going through this many times, as you guys all know, what happened to me during, what happened to me after, and really what I learned and what I wish I knew 20 years ago that I know now that would have changed my journey. So, Kelly is on the middle of her weight loss journey, and Kelly is using GLPs.
Yep.
Which GLP are you using?
So I am on Manjaro. I went into an appointment when I got engaged because I was fed up. I was terrified to be in a wedding dress the way I felt and the way I looked. And I made an appointment with a bariatric surgeon. I thought for sure I'm going to have this surgery.
So,
And
so your thought was your only hope was bariatric surgery,
yes,
and why did you feel, or what brought you to, hey, I'm getting married and I need to look a certain way in my wedding dress?
it's kind of what little girls, at least I did, look forward to. It's like the end goal of when I'm going to look my best is going to be on my wedding day. So I think that really motivated it. I felt like I didn't have much time. I had a year to get this done. And I was like, the only answer is surgery. That's what I felt.
Okay, so tell me about going in for bariatric consultation, as what you're saying. How did that go?
Yes. So I went in and they ran a lot of tests, look at your, metabolic, I don't know, you know the correct terminology for it. I don't. But how you, what is that called?
Your resting metabolic rate?
Yeah, resting metabolic rate, and where you get on that machine and you put your hands on it and it tells you your
Body
body mass,
mass, yeah.
yes.
Okay, who I can't be the only one that hates the BMI. The BMI has to be the most baloney thing in the history of baloney things. I don't know what that judges, and I think it's inaccurate in the way they judge it. I apologize for going on that rant, but you mentioned BMI, and
No, it's
I
true.
got crazy. Go ahead.
It's true, I totally agree.
Yeah,
It's a very discouraging measurement,
yeah.
but, like, we don't have enough discouraging measurements, but, I went to that appointment and ended up diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which freaked me out
Really?
immediately. Yes.
Can I ask what your blood sugar was? Do you remember?
It was, oh god, I wanna say 6.8. Does that sound right?
Wait, so 6.8 was your AC1.
Yes.
Okay. 6.8 and they okay, fair enough.
I'm not gonna lie, I purposely don't know a lot about it because I don't wanna believe it. I just blame it on size. That's how it's always
So
been.
when you say you purposely ignore it, do you mean ignore the testing or the numbers?
Yeah, the all of the above, the
Okay,
knowledge of it.
and you just don't wanna know about blood sugar and insulin and all that kinda
Yeah,
stuff.
it's terrible because I am upset with myself for letting it get to that point, and I blame myself. I'm I don't want to have to check that all the time. I don't want to have it's hard enough to step on a scale. I associate, health with weight,
Mhm.
and that's toxic. That's not good, but
Yeah.
I know I can't have sugar. I don't check it.
Yeah, so I've had, almost the opposite problem the entirety of my life, and doctors have gotten very frustrated with me about this because my cholesterol has always been very good. My blood sugar levels have always been very good. I literally have no other medical issues based on blood work and whatnot, and they just looked at me and said, "What do you want me to tell you? You just gotta lose weight."
Okay.
So there's 2 so what I talk about on the show is really, not about the need to have to lose weight, not for aesthetics, not for beauty. I talk about the need to have to deal with being happy and healthy. Now, this is an important reason why we're doing this conversation because sometimes losing weight is the path to good health.
Right.
Sometimes losing weight is the path to happiness.
Mhm.
But there's always this underlying question. Are you sad because you're heavy or are you heavy because you're sad? And those are 2 different things you gotta look into,
Mhm.
because if you're heavy because you're sad, you have to understand why you're sad, and that's making you maybe self-sabotage, right?
Mhm.
So I dealt with self-sabotage. That should actually be my slogan, right? I should have T-shirts that say, "I self-sabotage." We talked about that in a different podcast, and that's a whole nother question and a whole nother thing. But if you're sad because you're heavy, that's a different thing to deal with, right? If you're sad because you're heavy, then we have to understand what brings us there. So, before we go too far on that, so they checked your BMI, and then
Yes.
what brought you to the fact because you didn't do it, right?
No.
Okay, so what happened that you decided bariatric surgery is not for me? And to be fair, I refuse to do bariatric surgery. I refuse. I'll explain to you later why I refuse. It's a little bit of a different reason, but I refuse to do that, and it scares me a little. So you
Yeah.
refuse to do that.
So I sat with the doctor, and this is the first time in my life that I felt like I was at a doctor's office where they genuinely wanted to get down to the bottom of why I was large, not you're large, that's what's causing everything else. And I was there for 2 hours for this consultation, talking with a nutritionist, the regular surgeon, a couple other people on this team, a psychologist, and they really put in the time and the energy, the nurses too, to decide what's best for you. And through that discussion, I really trusted this doctor, and they told me about GLP. I had a friend that was probably midway through his weight loss journey, and he was doing a GLP and looking great, and he was pushing and pushing and pushing, very persistent man, pushing me to do it, and I was avoiding it. It freaked me out. Taking a shot. What is this drug? What do we know about it? Not much.
So you're saying that at that point, you thought having major surgery on your gastrointestinal system
Mhm.
was less invasive and less worrisome than taking a shot.
I did because I didn't care to do the research on the shot as much as I should have at that point because it was something that my kind of like big brother figure was nagging me to do. So I was just like, no, I'm going to find my own journey. This
Well,
is what I
that's a
want.
millennial thing, I have to tell you.
At that point, there wasn't much known about it. And all that was talked about is kind of like it's a crutch. We don't know what it really does to you. It's new. It's not new. It's been around forever.
Mhm.
I was getting diagnosed with diabetes, and this is literally the drug you get for diabetes. So,
Okay, can we back up for a second?
yeah,
The first thing you said was, "It's a crutch."
that's what society calls it.
So, there's this unusual thing happening in the world. So, they have figured out that if you take a higher dose of this GLP drug, which, like you said, has been given to many people for diabetes and whatnot, it actually promotes weight loss. And for some reason in the world, and I've talked about this before, people look at it like it's cheating, like it's an easy way out
Yep.
for some reason. And thank God that all of a sudden, I'm not saying since I started doing this podcast, I'm not saying anybody's stealing anything from me, but all of a sudden, these drug companies are catching on to that. And they're doing ads where they're saying, "Hey, my body, my health is my business." And then they just did an ad in the Super Bowl where they started talking about, "Hey, if you could take a pill that made you park better without crashing your car, if you could take a pill that all of a sudden made you like a famous WWE wrestler, I mean, wouldn't you take it?" So why is there this weird stigma that if we as big people started to take a drug that helped us with weight loss and made it maybe, they love to use the word easier. I think you and I will dispel the fact that that's complete bullshit.
Yep.
It doesn't make it easier. What it does is it promotes weight loss and it makes some of the symptoms of why maybe you fail on a diet a bit easier. But I don't know that I would call it a miracle and it just all of a sudden drops weight off of you. There's
No.
effort involved. There's side effects involved. I think where the problem starts is that people don't look at obesity or being big as a medical issue. They look at it like, "Hey, it's your fault and you have to pay for it." And the way to pay for it is by doing a long, strenuous routine that gets you to lose all the weight. You have to suffer. If you don't suffer, then you don't deserve the weight loss,
Right.
okay?
Can I chime in here?
100% you could chime in here.
So I feel like being the person that was kind of not open to it first and was going to get surgery first, I I think I feel like the people who have lost weight on their own without help of any kind, medical or whatever, because how many weight loss medications are out there? Like, do we think that about Phentermine when I was on Phentermine at 14 years old and it didn't do anything for me?
They still prescribe that.
I know. And you know what it is? It's an addiction. We are addicted to food. And you wouldn't tell someone who goes to AA that they shouldn't go to AA or that, well, you're not really sober because you go to AA. You have a crutch, you have help, or I don't know, rehab for people who have drug addictions. That's okay. That's expected. But for us, that's one of the solutions. And I'm type 2 diabetic. This is what you are prescribed when you're type 2 diabetic.
Mhm.
So, in that chair on that day at the appointment, it was like, okay, well, I am diabetic. So, I should take this. I have a reason to tell people I can take this medication. It's not a crutch because I have a diagnosis.
Who cares that it's a crutch though? I guess
I
that's
know.
the point I'm making. Who cares that it's a crutch, right?
Mhm,
If we want to do something that we think improves our lives, that we think, not what the world thinks, but what we think improves our lives, and it's not harmful to us physically,
mhm,
why wouldn't we take it,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Now, They will argue that all of these things can be done. Like you could help type 2 diabetes, you could help obesity by exercising, dieting, right? But like Kelly said, the part that is left out of that is the part she just talked about, which is the addiction. And even big people don't like to talk about their addiction with food. I like to say a lot of times, if you're the kind of person that can sit on the couch with leftover pizza in the refrigerator and not think about it, then you don't know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
But if you're the person who is sitting on the couch and all you're thinking about is a leftover pizza in the refrigerator, then you are my people. You know exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. And it's that addiction, right? I mean, here, I've said this privately, but never really publicly on here. I can name every fast food place between where I leave work and when I get home.
Oh,
And I
sure.
literally have to talk myself out of every stopping at every single one of them on the way home every day.
Mhm.
Every day. So when I've talked to other people who have had bariatric surgery, where they're sad with it is they no longer have the choice, right? They no longer have the ability to say, okay, I'm going to have a cheeseburger today. I just will be better tomorrow because they simply can't do it.
Mhm.
And then what you realize is that the so much of your happiness, so much of your self-soothing, so much of your comfort, everything that brings you joy is surrounded around food. And then all those things are taken from you. And it's like, how do you deal with that at that moment in the middle of your weight loss journey?
Yeah, that's the thing though, is it's not you can't completely take it away. You'll die. You can't cold turkey food.
So I talked about that in my second podcast. You know, this is where the world has to start treating it more as a medical issue versus a issue of just will, right?
Mhm.
An alcoholic doesn't take small sips of vodka every day to keep going. You know, a heroin addict doesn't take just less heroin daily to keep going.
Mhm.
We well, it's actually even worse that not only do we have to eat every day, but because you have to be very conscious of what you eat, you have to worry more about food than you did before you went on the diet.
Mhm.
Now you're constantly in grocery stores, you're constantly cutting calories. You're going through the effort of portioning, weighing, measuring, calculating.
Yeah.
It is just exhausting. So when you go through that process, then you get on the scale and there's no result.
Yep.
Why do people quit? They quit because of that.
Mhm.
Okay. So you went and did the bariatric consultation and you came out of that with them saying, listen, we think you're better off on the GLP than you are with bariatric surgery. So
Yes.
going into that situation, how much better or worse did you feel about your situation?
Honestly, I felt a lot better about my situation. I'm blessed. I feel like I was in a unique situation where I felt like I was being heard. I felt like they were asking me the right questions, things that I never would have thought to think about. And I felt like, wow, I might actually be able to do this. I might actually have a solution and not have to go under the knife and completely change my life, like for the worse. Having bariatric surgery is terrifying.
It's terrifying. I don't want to tell people it's not a safe operation because I think it is a safe operation, but the risk of complication, and I'm not a doctor, I think are a little stronger having surgery versus taking the shot.
Yeah, I think people would argue that. Because there of course is things that everybody can come up with reasons for. And I think from what I understand that GLPs cause a lot of issues with your thyroid. Um, I don't know exactly what. Like I happen to have a lump on my thyroid 3 months into doing this starting the GLP. Had it checked on. It's
And
benign.
okay.
And it's fine, but I have to go routinely. Um, I have a person in my life. I don't know if this person wants me to share who they are. So I had to stop myself. But this person also was doing the GLP, probably, in my opinion, didn't need to, just a little bit of weight loss, but wanted that help and did it. And sure enough, this person also had a growth on their thyroid. I have another friend who has thyroid cancer and did the GLP. So there's risks. There are risks. There's risks to everything you do. But You know what else is really risky? Being unhealthy and not knowing what's going to work for you. And I found a solution that I was willing to take that little bit of a risk, keep an eye on it. And here I am, 110 pounds down so far. So,
110 pounds is amazing.
yeah.
So how long have you been on the GLP?
Since what was it? October of 25 was 1 year. So,
Uh,
a year and a couple months.
okay. And what were the biggest difficulties for you being on a weight loss journey? Like, what was the hardest thing you dealt with?
This time,
So,
one.
all right. So, the joke there, and a lot of you are going to get that, is that, we have, being who we are, been on many, many diets. And on those diets, we've lost weight. We've lost a lot of weight. We've lost a little bit of weight. We stopped the diet for whatever reason. And there's so many reasons of why you stop a diet.
Mhm,
And it could happen in a blink. It could happen in over a short period of time. And then the weight comes back so much quicker, than you took it off, and it happens without you noticing it, and before you know it, not only are you back your original weight, but quite frankly, you're a little bit heavier than when you started, and then all of a sudden, those psychological games start all over again,
mhm,
and on top of those psychological games is when people look at you and say, "Well, what happened? You were doing so well. Why'd you stop?"
mhm,
Right? And then the guilt and the shame come in, and it's difficult. Yeah. So you've been on this one for about a year and a half.
mhm.
So, a year and a half in, was there anything you'd do differently if you were able to do it all over again?
Um, what I would do differently is probably give myself more grace in the beginning when I mean, you are completely shocking your system. Your metabolism is not the same metabolism anymore. Your body's going through a lot of changes really quick.
You
And
mean by losing weight or by taking the
by
drug?
taking the drug,
Okay.
you fail. You can I curse?
It depends on the curse, I suppose. I don't want you to offend anybody.
You feel like shit when
That's really what you had to ask about?
I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Crap, shit.
Alright,
Anyway.
alright. This is not going on PBS, by the way. I literally have a glass of bourbon in my thing. Continue.
You feel terrible at first. I don't think I was prepared for that. And I'm lucky that I had a lot of people around that have done it.
What do you think the GLP what do you think that is doing to your system? Like, how do
Slowing,
you think it works?
it slows down your digestion.
Right? It slows your digestion. So in other words, you eat food, that food stays, digesting much longer, so you're fuller. So you
Yep.
literally, physically can't eat more,
You feel it. Yeah.
and you feel it. But the thing is, in the beginning, you try because you don't know
Hmm.
what full is as a big
Hmm.
person, right?
You totally.
So you just kind of eat as you eat, and then all of a sudden you eat too much and you feel horrible.
Hmm.
And you kind of train yourself to like, okay, when I feel this way, I don't want it to go out the other end. So
Hmm.
the first time I was on a GLP, now in fairness to everybody, I have been on some form of GLP 4 or 5 times.
Hmm.
And my first time was about 3 or 4 years ago. And one of my first negative reactions is my wife made pasta and it was delicious. And I ate probably too much of the pasta and I was driving to work the next day. And on my way to work, I literally threw up all over myself in the car. That really shocked me into not only do I now carry something in my car in case something like that happens,
Same.
but I shocked myself into like, okay, you can't eat past a certain point. You
Hmm.
can't eat past a certain time. So GLPs, for all of you who are thinking about it, ever tried it, I like to think of it as a bariatric surgery and a shot, right? So it's not trying to necessarily trick your brain, and it does a little bit because the GLPs actually trick your brain into thinking you're fuller than you are.
Hmm.
But it's not necessarily confusing your system into thinking that you're not hungry. Because here's a myth, and I think Kelly will agree with me. Big people don't have to be hungry to eat. So I've never understood what an appetite suppressant actually does for folks like us.
Hmm.
Because we eat out of wanting to eat. We don't eat
Joy.
out to, yeah, out of joy, out of fulfillment, out of being happy or sad. I mean, every emotion brings us to the kitchen,
Mhm.
out of boredom, out of
Yep.
habit.
Society doesn't help either. It's everywhere.
We're
What do
blaming
you
you're gonna blame society? All
It's
right, go
part of
ahead.
it. It's part of it. It definitely, it helps build who you are
But
when you're
what do you mean by society doesn't help?
um it's everywhere you look. It's everything you reach to do when somebody dies, when somebody's born, when
Okay.
you
So
celebrate
so you
something.
don't mean society, you mean life. Like, that's the world. Like, everything we do now, we're Chicagoland residents. You know, Chicago is the greatest eating city in the world, and we have so many ethnic groups, so diverse. We have something great about everything here. And everything we do, whether it is a funeral, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a birthday, whether it's a somebody coming in to visit, it doesn't matter. It's all celebrated with food. And when I hear complaints about bariatric surgery, is that everything that they did in their lives before they had the surgery was surrounded by food. So once they take the food away, are you taking my whole life away? Are you taking away my ability to go to dinner with my friends? Can I no longer sit with my family around the table at Sunday and have some Sunday gravy, as my wife would call it, with their pasta and everything else? The thing is, you can't. You could take some of it, and that's one thing bariatric surgery stops you from, is there are some foods that really hit you hard, and you have to find the one things that don't hit you so hard. But the thing that you use to calm yourself, to put yourself in a better mood, to talk you through something that happened that was bad, to celebrate something that happened. The thing that you use for all of that is now taken from you. And what do you do?
Mhm.
Where's the preparation for, all right, here's what you do instead, right? Like, what are you gonna play on your phone? You're gonna watch TikToks, right?
Mhm.
Because you're gonna go through your phone, and what are you gonna do?
Drink a
You're
protein shake?
you're a protein shake?
That's what I do.
I don't even know that they can in a lot of cases. But no, then you're gonna go through your TikTok or Instagram, and you're gonna come across a video of somebody making something delicious.
Yes. Yeah. There's society. There they are.
But when you say society, it's really not society, it's life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't watch a commercial, and thank God we don't watch them much anymore, but you can't watch a commercial without a candy bar commercial,
Mhm.
without a fast food place, without a pizza place, without something about food. So, you know, it's not my intention to turn this into a complaint festival, right? Because if we did, I mean, I can bring any of you on here and we could speak hours about every struggle we had, and we could talk about the stigma of being a big person, which is one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because there's a stigma. You know, we go to the doctor and we talk about weight loss, and they always have this shameful look in their face, like, "Well, what do you want me to do? You know, you brought yourself here. You almost got to take yourself out of it." You know, we deal with a lot of body positivity people out there, right?
Mhm.
And these positivity people, you almost wonder if they're using it just for their own advantage, right?
Yeah.
There have been celebrities, artists who build their brand
Mhm.
on being a big person and being someone who is sensitive to the needs of big people. And then what do? They fall under the same victimization we do, the same stigma, and they go off and they lose a bunch of weight, but they don't
Mhm.
ever explain how or why. They just don't wanna get into it because they don't want anybody to really judge them on it. I mean, these are megastars,
Mhm.
and they don't want the judgment from the media or the public, right? As
Mhm.
if that's the whole reason we follow them, and it wasn't because maybe they just were a great actor or were really funny or made really great music, you
Mhm.
know? It's such a sensitive subject for so many people, you
And I
know?
feel like
So
it kind of ties into that thing about, it being a crutch. It's like what did you obviously did something like uh, whether it was get a personal trainer and work out for 6 hours a day like you did or whatever it is. It's There's shame in getting help. And
yeah.
even the people that we're all out here looking up to, because for so long, this person was someone who preached body positivity and maybe I can be happy in the skin that I'm in. Now, all of a sudden, they're happier in their new skin and not sharing exactly how they got there.
Someone close to me who had bariatric surgery and is really, really struggling with the psychological and emotional aspect of what he's going through, literally just looked at me and asked me a question. He goes, "What's wrong with being big?" I I didn't have an answer.
Mhm.
I didn't have an answer. What's wrong with being big? Where's the harm in being big if we're not talking about health? Some people have legitimate health concerns with being large. There are legitimate health concerns as you get older, like me, about being large. But if you go to the doctor and all your blood works good, your kidney functions, your liver functions, your heart's working well,
Mhm.
you don't have some kind of increased blood sugar level, you don't have some kind of cortisol issue, right? You're generally healthy.
Mhm.
So what's wrong with being big? It really just goes back to the psychological and emotional part of it is that we don't talk about this that way. So when you're starting a diet,
Mhm.
um, there's a few options, okay, available to all of us. There's the medical option, which is the bariatric surgery. I'm sorry, the surgical option, which is the bariatric surgery. There's the medical option. So what's the medical option? The medical option means taking some medicines that help you along that journey. And these medicines are really either a stimulant that increase your heart rate and cause you to burn some more calories, give you more energy,
Mhm.
appetite suppressants, which are I don't know, the biggest joke I think in all of weight loss
Mhm.
because appetite suppressants don't solve the problem.
It's not the appetite that's the problem.
And there's the GLPs, which are the newest ones, which cause you to me, the GLPs are the medical version of bariatric surgery. It stops you from eating. So the difference is, and this is why I was surprised that you were worried about the GLPs versus the medical, is you could just stop taking them
Mhm.
and there's no ill effect at that point. You could stop taking them and then go back if that's what you need. Because what we really don't talk about, what we really need to do is we need to talk to somebody about this during, right?
Mhm.
We need to sit like Kelly and I are doing and discuss amongst ourselves what are the struggles,
Mhm.
right? So, along your journey, what do you think was the hardest things for you to deal with?
This current journey.
This current journey, boy, you keep bringing that up. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of struggles.
We're gonna get to that. I mean, we've been on many diets, and we've been
Mhm.
on very, very many, obviously failed diets, right?
Mhm.
And to say failed diet is almost silly because the diets were all successful at some level.
Mhm.
They all put us in a positive direction to a certain point.
Mhm.
You're gonna start on Monday, right?
Mhm.
It's your New Year's resolution. You're gonna start it at the first of the year.
Yep.
Uh, how many diets have you started? How many gym memberships did you let expire?
Mhm.
And we're not gonna talk about going to the gym today because that's a whole different thing.
Mhm.
Going to the gym, the level of shame and abuse
Yes, seriously.
is a whole different thing. Getting on a
Mhm.
treadmill next to somebody who's running at a 9 and you're
Mhm.
struggling to walk at a 1.5 or a 2.
True.
I talked about this, but the truth is those people really don't look down on us. They don't. They're happy that we're there. The majority of people are just like, "You go, kiddo,"
Mhm.
on this particular journey, because you've been very successful in this journey, right? So
Mhm.
on this journey, what struggles have you had?
Um, Probably understanding what I can and can't eat to make sure that I don't get ill. I mean, kind of what you talked about. The first like 3 months into me taking the medication, I was grossed out. People talk about food noise and how it helps with food noise. I experienced that it made me not want to chew. Like I couldn't physically chew things.
That's so weird.
I know. Like chewing and then swallowing, I was like, I'm done. I did it once. I can't do it again. I'm going to throw up if I have to think about chewing this piece of protein meat
Was
and
it
swallow
the
it.
was it the act of doing it, or was it the thought that if you did it, you're not gonna feel good after?
It was it was the act of doing it. I know that
Mhm.
sounds crazy, but there was times that I literally spit it out because I was like salivating, like I'm going to throw up thinking about it.
Mhm.
And so I ended up eventually figuring out what worked for me. And I drink a lot of Fairlife protein shakes and drink a lot of soup. If I put my dinner in a mug, and I could sip it, it was easier for me than chewing something and swallowing it.
I've never heard of that. That's actually kind of amazing. I've heard a lot of the other things where you're nauseous, you're constipated, or the other one.
Mhm.
I've heard a lot of those things, a lot of gastrointestinal issues, but I've never heard somebody talk about, wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't one of my struggles, you
Mhm.
know. Um, so you you're still with that. So in other words, you're still struggling with the chewing.
No, not so much anymore. I now just don't eat. Now I just don't eat enough. It's not a matter of the chewing and swallowing like grossing me out. It's just I know I'm not going to feel good if I have anything that's super carb loaded.
Mhm.
Um, the Manjaro dumps are a real thing.
Wow, I don't know what that means. So I I know what that means. I'm just ignoring it. That's the opposite of constipation, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I'm on Zepbound. I have been for some months. I unfortunately have not been as successful as you've been on it. This is not my first go around. And the first time I took it, I was successful. It was at my heaviest, and I had lost around 50 pounds. And then it stopped working, but I was getting a lot of, the burps.
Sulfur burps.
The sulfur burps are some of the worst things that I've ever, thank you, one of the worst things I've ever dealt with.
It's terrible.
And I wasn't losing any more weight, and I was still really big,
Mhm.
and I just stopped doing it, and then I started doing intermittent fasting.
Mhm.
And the intermittent fasting caused me to lose about another 40 pounds or so. And I was feeling really good.
Good.
Like, I was buying different clothes, I was looking different, my face looked different, I was feeling really good, but intermittent fasting was very, very, and I know a lot of you guys have tried it, and we could talk about that on a separate podcast, but it got to be too much. It got to be too difficult, and I just couldn't continue my life that way. And then I stopped doing that. Weight started coming back immediately.
Mhm.
Since then I've been on it a few more times, very, very unsuccessfully. I've been on a higher dose of Zepbound now for probably 6 months, and it's been so unsuccessful that my endocrinologist who had me on it, because my regular family practitioner, who, if he's listening, is the greatest doctor ever, didn't have anything to deal with anymore and sent me to an endocrinologist. I've been with her for the better part of a year, and she is now dumping me. So she said she was going to send me to, is everybody ready? This is her exact words, an obesity specialist. And I said, "Is that a specialist for obesity specialists? What does that mean?" And I think what she just meant was is somebody who really, really specializes in this world. And I'm going to start that next week, right? So why am I doing it, right? I'm this guy on here who's talking about body positivity and talking about how you just need to be healthy and happy. Um, that is correct. I was telling Kelly about this earlier, and I talked about this in an earlier podcast, but I have a neurofibroma on my lumbar, and it's really affecting my mobility. And I really need to be at a smaller size so that the doctors would agree to maybe do something for me medically. Otherwise, they're just not going to, because they don't want to take the chance of operating on somebody like me, because somehow modern medical science can't accommodate a gentleman of my size,
Mhm.
which is shocking to me, but it's the truth, right?
Mhm.
Um, so what makes this weight loss journey for you different than the other ones you took? Have you ever lost this much weight on one diet before?
No. I got close. I think the best I've done was 80 pounds. And that was the most toxic weight loss journey I have ever been on.
What do you mean by toxic?
I had a personal trainer. I was probably 17.
You were a teenager.
I was young, very
Okay.
young. I had a personal trainer that would have me sit in front of a makeup mirror, like a stand-up mirror, to eat my meals. Yeah. And it truly was a teenager. I was a child. It shaped me into having an eating disorder. bear or binge eating.
That is one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So he made you want to look in front of a mirror and hate yourself for eating.
I didn't want to,
No, of course you didn't want to. Who would want
but yeah,
Well,
I was
first of all, who
directed to.
eats in front of a mirror?
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a fetish out there, but that is not, we don't eat in front of a mirror.
ASMR.
Nobody and nobody eats in front of a mirror.
Mukbang. Yeah, that's what I had to do, and, I was doing 2 days at the gym also. That was
So you were on The Biggest Loser.
yeah, essentially,
So
which I loved. It was around that time too. I mean, in 2009, I was a freshman in high school, so yeah, it was not long after
y
your season.
2009 was my season.
Yeah, I know. That show shaped, at least I can say, my generation of chubby kids. I mean, that was like I begged my parents to let me go to fat camp. I begged. And of course, that's not right. But my mom, thank God, didn't send me. But
Yeah. I would agree with your mother.
mhm,
I would agree with her wholeheartedly. Having experienced the thing that you wanted,
mhm,
and I'm not here to badmouth The Biggest Loser. I think Biggest Loser was inspirational for a lot of people, but it was always also a joke for a lot of people.
yeah, it wasn't for 16-year-olds either.
There were a lot of people out there who found inspiration in what we did, and there were a lot of people who thought it was funny as all get up to
Mhm,
watch some fat girl or fat guy fall on a treadmill, so but a lot of people found the inspiration in it, and that's what we did. I mean, there wasn't as much available to people then as there is now,
mhm,
as opposed to that. There's a reason why it's no longer on the air, I
mhm,
think, you
mhm.
know.
I would agree.
Um, so what about this time is different that you feel? Because you said to me separately, this time I feel like this is the last one.
Yeah. Um, I about a month before this appointment that I went to, I already had kind of started. Um, I had a realization, I don't know why, but in my head that there has been do you remember the show Lizzie McGuire?
Of course, I remember the show Lizzie McGuire. I have
Mm,
daughters your age.
I
I
know.
watched all their television.
So,
The worst actors in the history of
hey, Hilary Duff is going
the
on tour. Anyway, um,
This
there
is what dreams are made of,
this
kid.
is what dreams are made of.
Yes.
There was this little cartoon that was like her subconscious mind in the
Yes.
show.
Yes.
And this is terrible to say out loud. I shouldn't call her this, but in my head, I had two. One was Fat Kelly, and the other one was Healthy Kelly. And I realized Fat Kelly is a lying bee. she tells me, she's the one who tells me, go get that pizza, that
Yeah.
leftover pizza while I'm
Yeah.
sitting on the couch. And my voice for Healthy Kelly was a lot more quiet. I never listened to her. So it was like this realization that I need to start or stop lying to myself. I know what the problem is. I have an addiction to food. I'm trying to reach for joy, and it's an instant dump of dopamine, and it's a quick fix, just like a cigarette.
But does having bariatric surgery or taking a GLP, does it solve that problem?
Um,
In other words, it takes away some of the cravings and some of the ability to do those things. But does this solve the reason why you have those cravings in the first place?
no.
And that's what scares the crap out of me, okay? Bariatric patients, their side effects are worse than anything we're talking about. What they go through is difficult, but the psychology of them wanting to still eat doesn't necessarily go away.
Mhm,
The bariatric surgery and GLPs take away your ability to eat past where you should eat,
mhm,
but they never solve the problem. So you take a GLP-1 and you eat till you're full,
mhm,
right? Or till you can't eat anymore.
mhm.
And the thing is, if you ever stop taking them, the same thought remains, except when you get full, takes a lot more than where you were originally. So
Right.
the scary thing is that we ever sit down and figure out why we do that in the first place, why we overeat in the first place.
Yeah,
right?
and that isn't done enough.
No,
Those
it's not
conversations.
done at all. And that's why I've said that obesity needs to be dealt with as a medical issue. There needs to be therapy, there needs to be psychology, there needs to be physiology. A lot of things have to go into effect in order for us to do it, you
Mhm.
know? And you, has it helped you with the food noise?
Um, Once a binge eater, always a binge eater.
It hasn't helped me a lick with the food noise. It hasn't stopped the food noise in my head whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I've talked to bariatric patients, and some of them says it has helped them with the food noise, and others say they're miserable because all they have is the food noise. So,
Mhm.
um, that was fantastic. So,
Oh, good.
let me share with you something I wish I knew 10 years ago, something I wish I knew 20 years ago. Okay. There's this magical thing that we get to that's called maintenance. So, maintenance, if you've ever done Jenny Craig, which I'm sure you have,
Mhm.
if you've ever done Weight Watchers, which I'm sure you have,
Mhm.
all these programs have 3 steps. They have a beginning, they have a middle, and then they have the end, which they call maintenance. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think maintenance is a fantasy land.
Mhm.
And what I've learned, because again, I was on the TV show, I have been studied at the NIH. I know what happens when you lose a lot of weight. And there is no time where you can go back to being normal. There is no time where you can go back to eating just like everybody else,
Mhm.
right? Because we're going to gain weight on what everyone else is just eating on a regular day and not gaining weight.
Right.
That's the truth behind it, you
Mhm.
know? Now, in my weight loss journey with The Biggest Loser, I lost 180 pounds. And pretty much right away within the first year and a half, I got right back from I started at 407, ended at 228, and then I landed around 300 pounds, right? Now I'm gonna tell you that everything I did when I talk about doing triathlons and 5Ks and 10Ks, training for the marathon, the way I trained and how active I was, that all happened around 300 pounds. But I really struggled being around 300 pounds because that wasn't far from where I was in high school. And that was traumatic for me.
Mhm.
Right. So I struggled to be there. Yet, if I go back in my memory, that was the most content I was. Like, I was at 300 pounds and I was eating better. I was exercising regularly. I was active with my family. I fit in airline seats. I fit at the ballpark. I could use a booth when I went out to eat. Like, not
Mhm.
I was not only like everyone else, I was better than I
Mhm.
think everyone else, but psychologically I couldn't stay there. And I've just realized that I don't need to lose 200 pounds. I don't need to be a model, right? Like they looked at me when I was 18 years old. I don't need to be that guy. So what do I need to be? I need to be just happy and content. Like I could live in that area and live my life in a great way.
Mhm.
So when I want to lose weight now, I don't want to lose 200 pounds. I want to lose 100 pounds.
Mhm.
I want to get back to that where I can almost wear clothes and buy clothes at Target.
Mhm.
Not that I would do that. Just want you all to know I'm not a Target guy. Like I'd like to go there and I'd like to almost be in regular people clothes. I could be healthy. I don't need anything special to be me. That's really what I want to do. And if I could go back and just tell 300-pound Julio, hey, you're good here, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep eating what you're eating. Just keep exercising like you're exercising,
Yeah.
and you're going to be fine.
Mhm.
If I can go back and be that guy, I would. So here's what I'm going to tell everyone out there who's on these weight loss journeys. It's very difficult to lose a lot of weight. It's very difficult and then stay there,
Mhm.
right? Now, somebody who has to lose 50 pounds, 80 pounds, or whatever, they were never big people to begin with. They just got, as my friend Al likes to say, lazy, right?
Mhm.
Didn't eat as well, didn't do as well, right? They like they could probably stay at that smaller weight longer. Those of us who have been big for a lot of years and are bigger, it's harder for us.
Mhm.
And then when we get to that small weight and we start to gain weight, that's where the mental game happens,
Mhm.
right? That's where all of a sudden you start feeling the shame and the guilt.
Mhm.
Find a weight. Your body's going to stay at a certain weight that it's comfortable at. Find that weight and be happy. You're healthy, you're happy. Screw everyone else that thinks we're supposed to be skinny, right?
Mm.
Because it's not about being skinny, it's about being healthy and happy. So, just to wrap this up, It's not easy. It's not just will. It's just not the ability to understand, right? So we know how to do it. We want to do it. It's important that you give yourself credit for the small successes. You know, we tend to think it's all or nothing, right? We tend to think it's skinny or bust.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't give yourself credit for having lost 100 pounds, 110 pounds, 80 pounds. Like that's just so hard and so amazing.
Mhm.
And I like to say to people that if this is the end, if you stopped here, are you successful?
Hell yeah.
Of course you are. You're a different person.
Mhm.
You lost a person.
Mhm.
You're a different person than you were 100 pounds ago. So if it never got any better than now, are you still successful? Are you happy? And it's learning to be happy in your own skin. Now, one thing I love to do on the show, and I tasked Kelly with this, as I said, come up with a question or two that you want to ask me that you never ask somebody on the street. But seeing as I've had a lot of experience in this, that maybe I'm better equipped to answer the question. So, do you have any questions for me?
I do.
Are
So,
they scary?
no,
Do I need to have another drink
you
first?
might need a tissue. He is a girl dad.
I am a girl dad. Very proud girl dad, I'd like to say.
So, as a son, a girl dad, brother, etc., in your opinion, what can people or culture change to prevent disorders like binge eating and bad self image stop? Like, what are positive impacts that we can have on, the little second grader that's going to buy her communion dress and feels terrible because she's huge? What are things we should be doing to not make them feel like that?
So, there's a lot of ways that you can point fingers, right, at why someone is big. My daughters have struggled with their weight over the years. And it's really easy to say, well, it's obvious. See, Julio's bringing these bad foods into this house. He's eating with them. They're watching him or whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of big people that have real skinny kids. And there's a lot of skinny parents that have big kids.
Hmm.
So it's very difficult to really point a finger as to what's happening at home. And quite frankly, a lot of big kids will sit there and tell you that their parents were very ashamed of them being big and were almost borderline abusive in the way they treated their children in being big. I mentioned in my last podcast with my biggest loser that my dad had a real effect on me, and I never really understood it or knew it. I didn't understand that till I was older, but I can tell you wholeheartedly that it was not my father's intention,
Hmm.
right? So society has never celebrated being fat. Entertainment industry has always ridiculed people being fat. Are they going to change that? I don't think they are. Is society ever really going to put a big girl in a Victoria's Secret runway ad? I don't know that they are,
I think they tried,
right?
and I think it's changing.
I think some of them have, right? Some of them have gotten bigger and they've tried to show that it's okay. There's a lot more body positivity out there from people saying it's okay to be big. And what do they do? There's a lot of hate that
Mm.
happens. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of people in the comment section just destroying them,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it's so easy to read those comments and think they're real, but don't. It's
Mhm.
just some guy who's probably twice as big sitting in his mother's basement eating Red Hots with the PlayStation and commenting on things because he doesn't know better.
Yeah.
So, what do you do? So, I have never personally discussed weight with my daughters. I have talked to them about eating better or exercise, not so that they look better, but so that they feel better,
Mhm.
just as a health thing. And that's it.
Mhm.
They never get that shame from me because I know what that feels like,
Mhm.
right? And that takes them off the hook a little bit. I can't change society,
Mhm.
not by myself. The best I can do is start a podcast like this and start a conversation with all you good folks so that we can talk about it openly. Because, when you say something out loud, Kelly has stopped by the house a couple of times, and we've had this discussion before the podcast.
Mhm.
And last time we talked, I looked at her and I said, "Do you feel better?" What was your answer?
Yeah.
Because she talked about it out loud.
Mhm.
You don't talk about it out loud. When you talk about it out loud and you take that monkey off your back, you take the weight off your shoulders, everything else starts to get easier. Stop being ashamed of yourself. Stop blaming yourself. Okay. There's a lot of reasons why we got here. We just need to talk about it so we could take some of the stigma away and maybe we can get to the root of what we're doing.
Mhm. If you had any advice to give to someone who only cares, constantly cares about what others thinks, mostly talking about the gym, which we kind of touched on,
Mhm.
um, what would you tell them? It's kind of the same thing.
So, in other words, I'm afraid to go to the gym because of how people judge me,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, you wanna hear something interesting?
Yeah, always.
So, our first day on the ranch, okay,
Mhm.
and we were some big folk, right?
Mhm.
Our first day on the ranch, if you ever watch the show, very famously, there's a pool in the back,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And, you can agree or disagree, but going to the pool has never been a positive experience
Oh, hell no.
when you're a bigger person. It is an absolute nightmare.
Mhm.
But imagine now you're in a place where we're all big
Mhm.
and we know what we're in for. And we see a pool, everybody in. We all jumped in,
That's awesome.
right? Like some of the girls jumped in literally shorts and their sports bra and could care less
Mhm.
what was hanging out or what was happening or anything else.
That's amazing.
And I always remember that day because, well, for 2 reasons. One of them, one of the girls got out of the pool and her butt completely swallowed her shorts,
Mm.
and I turned away because she was very young, and they're like, "Why are you looking away?" I go, "I'm not sure that's allowed." So,
Oh my
uh,
god.
but the point was they would have never done that outside of this environment, and it was the first time almost all of us felt just so safe.
Yeah.
Like we're okay just living like everyone else lives just for that moment, off camera,
Yeah.
off judgment, off anyone else looking at us like we're just a disaster in some way. I mean, it was really just great.
That's so cool.
But what I did learn in going through this process, especially the Biggest Loser process, is that people don't look at you that way. That really is in your head. When people see you come in, they what they're really stopping themselves from doing is going over and saying, "How can I help? Like, do you need to understand how this works? Do you need to do this or whatever?" That they're literally stopping themselves from doing that. So if they seem like they're putting themselves off, it's because they don't want to intrude because they're happy with you going there, right?
Yeah.
So the hardest part of any workout, you guys have heard me say this 100 times, is literally walking through the front door. It has never been the treadmill. It has never been the Stairmaster. That's hard for everybody. You don't have to be big.
Right.
It's walking through the front door and doing that. So, what I will say to you is, it really is all in your head. It's not real. The judgment from the majority of us, there are some real assholes out there. Let's be honest.
Mhm.
But from the majority of people, they really, if they could help, they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, it's a great question because that goes through everybody's head, you
Mhm.
know? So to wrap it up, everyone who is larger, been large, wanting not to be large, good with being large, whatever. We've all been on 100 diets, right? We all know what to eat. We all know what the exercises are. We all know how to count calories. We all know the difference between a good fat and a bad fat, right? Nobody has to tell us what's what. It's really just about making a choice. And the choice is, do you want to be a big person? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be happy? Or how do I do all three? Are you big because you're sad or are you sad because you're big? Like I started the conversation.
Mhm.
Because if you're sad because you're big, there's things we can do with that. If you're big because you're sad, that's another conversation. So, what I'd like you to do is I'd love you to leave comments, right? So if you're listening to this on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, leave comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave comments. Let me know how you feel. Let me know how you feel about Kelly's story. Let me know how you feel about the weight loss process. And then we could start to talk about it. And then maybe we can get some there. As Kelly said, how do we change society? Well, do we have to change society or do we have to change the way we view society? Maybe it's both. But everything starts with the conversation. Everything starts with the beginning. And this is the beginning, and they're starting to get it. And we're going to figure this out, and we're all going to end up super, super happy. Okay. So, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please leave comments. Please like and subscribe so we can keep this going and keep talking. Thank you to Kelly for being such a open and wonderful guest on my show, and I hope to have you back,
Oh, yay. Well, thank you for having me.
right?
This was
Because
big for me. Spiritual moment here.
well, it's big for everybody, right? Nobody talks about this,
Mhm.
right? And if you do talk about it, you'd be shocked at how much better you feel. So again, thank you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.